say last night that you can't keep doing the same things defensively and expect different results. So did you mean you have to change scheme? Do you have to change players? Do you have to change coaches? Do you have to change play calling?
No, I think it's more the philosophy of some of the things that we're trying to get done, different ways, especially when you know teams are going to run the ball. I know we'd like to keep a shell on our defense, but there may be times we have to break that. And trust me, we're looking at everything. It's all of us in it together. Myself, our defensive staff, just looking at, some of the opponents we played and how are they trying to stop the run. So I think you always got to look at different ways and potentially how we're using some of our players. So these next couple days are going to give us a good opportunity to kind of look at all of those things and make the necessary adjustments.
On the other side then, Matt, just the issues preventing from more consistent starts offensively last 2 games.
Yeah, it hasn't been very good when you look at it, especially the last 2 games when the majority, like about 6 out of the 8 quarters, have been not very, very good football. I think would we start 3 and outs? We had the one in the first possession in good field position, and then we threw a pick, and you're on your 11th play, and the score is 24-3. So that is not very good complementary football, and quite frankly, it gets you out of your game plan before you ever give yourself an opportunity to get the game plan going. We knew that they were going to load the box. I thought we had some opportunities there to make some plays in the passing game, and we went backwards. So get back on track situations, and then you got 3 third downs in there. So it looks like you abandoned the run when really you haven't given yourself an opportunity to get the run game going. We had some run pass cans where they gave us the look for the passes, and I'm a firm believer in terms of playing probability. I mean, what has the best probability of having success? And when it doesn't work out, you get stuck up here answering a bunch of your guys' questions, and that's just the nature of it. Now, do we have to do a better job of trying to get the ball into our playmakers' hands, whether it's in the run game or the pass game? Absolutely. And we got to look at just some of the things that we were asking them to do, in the positions we put them in. And if you got to manufacture it, you got to find a way.
Were Jones and Watson both on a pitch count last night, and do you think this extended rest could allow them both to get back to a full workload by next Monday?
I'm hopeful for that, but yeah, absolutely, both those guys. We wanted to be careful with them, and that's just the circumstances.
And you have to look at the physicality of what Detroit brought and how you guys reacted to it, especially on your offensive line. And are there moves that you can make, or you're going to try to see if you can, match that kind of physicality?
Yeah, I mean, we looked at everything critically, and I think there's a lot of things that we can do a heck of a lot better. I think there's some things that we can do from a coaching standpoint in terms of putting our guys in better positions. But they have a great play style, and they took it to us for the majority of the game. And we've got to get back at it. And the only way I know how to do that is get back out on that practice field and being competitive with, in all 3 phases, having competitive practices.
I'm sorry, I just want to follow. Are you less likely to move guys around than just try to fix what you got?
Oh no, I think everything's open.
I was going to ask about physicality too, at the risk of getting a Pete Doherty kind of answer here, but
Wow.
Are you
Shots everywhere.
Well, are you a physical enough team? It's not just offense. Like Detroit ran for, they broke however many tackles. They had 100 and some yards after contact rushing was. I mean, that seems like that's a physical style on both sides. Are you equipped both sides of the ball in that way?
Yeah, I believe we are. No, we got to do it. So it's one thing to sit here and talk about it. You got to go do it. And when you do get beat like we did, we got outcoached, we got outplayed. That just kind of comes with the territory.
So I guess I was thinking along the lines of the run defense, like I asked about last night. Is that a sign of not being physical up front or front seven? Or is it schematics or guys?
I think it's. I think a lot of it can be solved schematically. I really do. I think we got enough players. You got to give them credit too. I mean, that is one of the better offensive lines in this league. I think when you look at a back like David Montgomery, who we've seen quite a bit from his time in Chicago as well, he's a powerful guy that can break tackles, and he does a really good job. He's a very efficient runner with very good balance, can break tackles, falls forward, gets those dirty yards. So I thought there were some displays of some really good run defense, and then there were some that you just, you want to take the tape and chuck it at the wall.
Matt, what was the thinking for taking the timeout with 41 seconds left in the first half and then not taking one after Josiah's catch on the next drive?
Yeah, we probably should have. Looking back at it, absolutely should have wanted to get something on the ball. Was hoping to get obviously the deeper throw. Looking back on it, that was a mistake.
Do you think, I know you're not into next practice week, but is there a chance Stokes returns to practice this week?
We're hopeful, but we'll see.
Matt, when you talk about maybe a little bit of philosophical change on defense, I'm curious. I know you have to adapt and adjust, but the idea of having a guy like Joe who runs the Fangio-ish scheme is to do it the way that's designed, right? That's why you kind of wanted him. Is that fair?
Yeah, but I don't think any of us can be so rigid that, I mean, if you don't adapt and things aren't working, then you gotta look at, you have to be willing to adapt. And I think as a staff, we're open-minded enough to make those adjustments, and we're going to do whatever we need to do to put our guys in a better position.
You had adapted kind of already, though. Like, again, I know you didn't have Ja the last couple games, but the idea of letting him travel with guys, that was something that you weren't really doing last year. You know, having guys play up a little more and play more bump and run coverage. Like, do you feel like you were already adapting and you just haven't found the right adaptation to fix maybe the run defense, or how do you kind of view that?
Yeah, and again, each week could be a different challenge in what you're playing. Certainly, I think anytime you do give up as many yards as we did in the run game, obviously they got the big one on the reverse. You have to answer these questions, and we got to find a better way for sure. Especially when we know, when a team's built a pretty good lead on you, they're probably going to run the football. So, and it wasn't good enough. Bottom line.
Matt, there have been 9 penalties on special teams through the first 4 weeks. I think there were 4 last night. Do you look at those as kind of isolated incidents, or is that something team-wide that has to be addressed?
Well, I think what we have a false start. We had the leaping penalty, and then we had 2 holdings on kickoffs. One was, quite frankly, Key's got to follow where the return's designed to go. It's no different than on offense when a back maybe bounces a play that shouldn't go outside. When he bounces it outside, it puts somebody in a bad position. That's what happened on one of those, and then the other one, Josiah's got to have better fundamentals, better techniques. He's got to keep his cool. I get it. It's a pretty emotional game, and sometimes somebody will do something a little bit out of character. But that is definitely an area of concern for us. It's hard to set yourself up with good field position. I mean, we're having enough struggles offensively. The last thing we want to do is start backed up on like the 10-yard line. So, it is well noted and has been addressed. Now we got to go out there and execute.
Matt, was playing Ballantyne more than Valentine on defense, was that an injury thing or a performance thing?
No, that was part of the plan, kind of going into it. We were going to play both these guys. It just kind of depended upon the style of the game, and once they started getting out on that lead, thinking more run situations, that's why we made that decision.
Do you think Jair is a long-term thing, or was it just he had 2 games in a short amount of time and he just couldn't go for either one?
I sure as heck hope not. So we'll see.
Do they feel they know what's going on, because the back can be kind of tricky?
They've got a handle on it, I would say. We're not overly concerned long term, but I mean, has anybody ever had a bad back in here? It's a bad deal.
Matt, after the game, Aaron Jones mentioned he kind of sort of stepped up a little bit and talked to the locker room. So what do you thought of how he's used his voice this year a little bit more and kind of stepping into that leadership?
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding. I think we saw a little bit more of that a year ago, and into the offseason did an outstanding job, and he embodies what we want to be about. He's all the right things, and he does a great job because his actions match his words.
Pat, are you thinking you're probably done with that option play?
Probably not.
Is it being?
Listen, I called that at an inopportune time. So typically, you never quite know what a defense is going to play when you put 2 halfbacks out there, and they stayed in their base defense, and probably not the best play call for that situation. So we got to have a way to get out of it, is my point.
So there's not a can for a play like that?
No, there wasn't. You seem disappointed.
No,
It's a fun play.
The 2 times you've run it, it hasn't gone.
looked great. Yeah. We ran it a bunch last year, and we had a lot of success with it, so it's one of those things where it could be game by game. You never know when it's going to be up.
What percentage of your plays that you have, though, I feel like, I guess I thought all the plays had can.
No.
No. Is it not very many, or is it most?
I would say that I would say most do not have a can.
That was the very first play of any kind of a run-pass option, or was that a pass all the way?
What you talking about?
First play from scrimmage, Jordan scrambled, and I think he tried to throw to Aaron.
No, that was a pass. Yeah, we had a quick game route on the left side in basically a deeper developing concept on the right-hand side with the lead blocker for the halfback as a check down.
After watching the film, the second interception, we kind of talked about it last night. I'm assuming you could see both Rome's perspective and Jordan's when you watched it on film. Just kind of an unfortunate deal where they were both thinking different things, or no?
Yeah, I think in the heat of the moment, I think after looking at it, that's something that when the quarterback's still in the pocket, you can't go off schedule. So it happened. Hopefully we all learn from it and it doesn't happen again.
Kind of the first time that the pressure that was on Jordan impacted some of his decisions, even in that kind of play, where he felt he had to get rid of it a little quicker before he could see Romeo take it deep?
No, I will say this. I thought Jordan did an outstanding job of throwing with pressure in his face all night. Now, were there times when he was maybe a little bit too picky and, just take the profit? Yeah, I think that's part of the learning curve, and just understanding that, especially when you're going up against a pretty good opponent with a really good pass rush, is, hey, if there's a window there to throw the ball, I got to get the ball out of my hand. And as the game goes, you can kind of get a feel for how you need to play. But I think just the foundation of effective quarterback play all starts with reading with your feet. And if it's open, you can't be picky. You can't pass up a completion for another completion. And I'm not saying it happened all the time, but I think, if we're being honest about it, there were a couple instances where he probably needs to get rid of the ball. But I was proud of his effort in terms of he showed no flinch, and that's something that you can't coach. And I thought he made some unbelievable throws Again, like that fourth down where he hit Rome across the middle, Hutchinson was right in his grill, and he delivered the football accurately. And there were numerous of instances like that. Like, shoot, the 3rd and 3, he had a guy in his face. It was incomplete. He tried to hit Rome. And we just got to do a better job of getting on the same page with that route. But I thought it was going to be a great ball. So I was really proud of just how he stood in the pocket, because that's not easy to do. That's the most he's been pressured. That's the most he's been sacked. That's the most he's been hit. And you got to give him credit, because he stood in there and was still competing his butt off till the end of the game.
Having coached young, inexperienced quarterbacks before, is that is that something that doesn't always happen? Like when guys get a lot of pressure, do they start to play a lot differently? And does this teach us?
Oh, yeah. I would say so. I actually thought he got more settled as the game went, and which is kind of can blow your mind a little bit, because you are getting hit, and usually it's just the opposite of that. So I was happy with his ability to truly take it one play at a time and not allow whatever had happened to impact what the next play was going to be.
How does that compare to the Kansas City game when he had, guys in his face all game long? Can you compare the reaction?
It was a totally different style. They were zero blitzing us like crazy, and I've said it before, I don't think we had a great plan that day. So, yeah, I think we all have learned a great deal from that experience, and, have answers for if that situation arises again.
But this is more, you felt like this is more like 4-man rush.
Yeah, there was a bunch of 4-man rush, and they were getting home. They did a nice job moving Hutchinson around, and they did some nice jobs with some of their line stunts, and so we've got to do a better job up front, no doubt about it. And again, just with just little techniques, because there were some times where we had some play actions where we had a true gap protection. So you're just basically trying to build a wall with your offensive line, and we got some guys that are oversetting, and it's leaving creases, and on plays where, you max protect, you're assuming that you're going to have an opportunity to at least hit a check down if the deeper developing concept isn't there, and that wasn't always the case.